Belotarano is located on an island off the coast of present-day Greece. The civilization uses its access to open waters for trade where they sell goods from their growing agricultural economy. Trade for Belotarano was essential due to its limited resources and large population of 1,500 people. Trade also benefited the economy due to the fact that Belotarano had perfect weather for an all-year-round growing season. All of Belotarano's resources were kept in a building called the Trade Room. This was where all the supplies went to be stored when they were bought or made by Belotarano, and where the items to be sold went. The items were placed in chests to make it easier to load on ships and move around. This was also used as a ration station for those in the lower class who could not afford food every day. When the civilization received money, it went straight to the monarch and the Congress of the people to be distributed evenly between the merchants, and whatever was left was given to the church. The church was the center of all the civilization. It was used for many purposes, such as a church for services, a council hall for the Congress of the people and the monarch, and a school. Due to the fact that all those who lived in Belotarano were Christian, they saw no problem in it. The church had a huge part in government. The government was run by a monarch born into power that had similar power to the Pope. And in order to keep him lawful, he was watched over by the Congress of the People, made up by upper and middle class citizens. They decided laws for the people of Belotarano. Although there are many churches in Belotarano, here is an example of one. Similar to the beliefs of the Hindus, those of Belotarano believed that you stayed in the class you were born into. There were 3 classes, upper, middle, and lower class. The lower class were basically the slaves. They did not have to work for the upper and middle class, tending to the farms and houses, but it was the only line of work they could be in. They lived in small cottages and were paid very little, but if they impressed their employer, they may have been invited to live in their house and work as a maid or butler when they got too old for manual labor. They also were not allowed to attend school because of the fact that they did not have enough money to buy books. Next were the middle class. This class usually consisted of the merchants, doctors, and teachers. They had a good amount of money and owned a good amount of land, but most did not have slaves to tend their land. The food they did not use for their family was bought by the church and served as ration food or to be sold in trade. They also were allowed to attend school because they usually had books or enough money to buy books for the classes. The highest class was the upper class, made up of usually priests, if they had jobs. They made most of their money by buying large spots of farming land and have lower class people by the hundreds working the fields. They then sell their crops to the church, which are used for trading. Most upper class citizens did not send their kids to school. They had libraries in their houses and they hired private tutors. They also lived above all the other classes because they felt that they were much better than them. In the conflict of 700 BCE, the upper-class citizens were the first to leave, which slowly broke down the economy and then the civilization. The conflict of 700 BCE, also known as the Time of Fear, was when the new monarch, Hermidas III, had paranoia that Belotarano was always under attack. This resulted in him closing down the trade route and causing the civilization to disperse by the year 701 BCE. Luckily, there were no real attackers, and the lifestyle of these people were preserved in their buildings.